I think what we need to discuss is how do we integrate the testing that you're doing with outreach and Michelle's funded research component. So we were talking earlier about how you might become part of the funded research portion by making slight changes in what you do pedagogically.
To my mind, there's the boundaries between the three territories are pretty fluid, and we can't do testing without the outreach that Tom does, and we have nothing to test without the research that Michelle will be coordinating. And I think the testing will feed back into the research, that the things that we speculate on as possible applications in the field and the communities that Tom has connected us to should spark new research initiatives within both the engineering school, but particularly here in the architecture school.
So how do we communicate with communities? You know, I mean, it's very well to say community, but who is that?
Right.
Is it the mayor? Who are we talking to, and how do we do this in a way that they feel part of this process and that it's actually useful?
Well, the effort that we've undertaken over the last 9 months has been widespread, communicating with mayors, with planning board officials, with community groups, with counties, with federal and state agencies. The key message really is that the New Jersey Institute of Technology is here to serve the people of New Jersey. And the idea is that the Center for Resilient Design can provide the resources to towns that they may not have the resources to do. Very few towns have the ability to hire a designer to update their master plan and to actually anticipate the next disaster. We need to provide that service, and I've been thrilled working with towns from Newark all the way to Seabright. They're very large, they're very small, and the reception that we receive. They want the students and faculty in their communities.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed, we have that website, and obviously the idea is to let communities know what we do, and to have this be a communications channel where we tell them what we're doing, we get feedback from them, and our response will then be of a kind that is useful to them in the future. And I think the nice thing about being a university or being using students, we're not advocates of any one thing. Nobody's paying us that will, in a way that will affect our point of view. So we're neutral, and we are clearly a resource to be used. But how do we establish this two-way communication instead of us acting like preachers, which obviously is not the right approach? So how do we get this back and forth?
We need to continue to communicate with communities about the importance of utilizing our website, www.centerforresilientdesign.org. It provides the opportunity for folks to actually find out about the studios that are underway, as well as see work that's already been produced. We'll be advertising our Resilient Design Roundtables and other conferences that we run, and provide opportunities actually for communities to provide their input and their insights. We'd love to have them communicate with us, as well as to share information with them.
I mean, one of the issues that we always have with dealing with communities is we have a way of talking to each other. We make plans, we make sections, all kinds of unnatural ways of representing buildings and representing communities. So what techniques can we use that gets beyond how we communicate with each other, which is a sort of secret language, if you like? How do we get students to design things in such a way that their ideas are communicated fully to somebody who may have no education in our field and whose interests lie elsewhere? How can they participate fully without understanding what we're talking about?
Well, we have tools now that allow us to make things that are more legible or that lay people can understand, to visualize what we do. Digital modeling, making animations, making renderings, using maps in ways that people are sort of understand how to read. One thing is very dramatic when you show someone what the change in sea level will do to the map that they understand as their place. Is no longer what they sort of understand to be their place. And we've done that in Seabright and Union Beach, communities that we've worked in. We're working in Hoboken right now. And an important thing also is to listen to the communities, listen to the people that you're working with. And I really choose to see it as working with them rather than working for them, to really help them understand more about who they are as a community, what their community is, what the structure of it is, and how the changes that we're seeing now will impact them. And how design can serve.
So what do you see students taking away from this pedagogically? I mean, students go through this experience. What do they gain that other students might not? I mean, what is it that they have to expect
I think
to take away?
it's two big things. One is, in fact, understanding that design is a cultural service and a social service. And so working with communities really connects them to a sense of purpose as designers. And the other is, my hope is that as the years play out, as we go forward with the Institute or the Center, that we'll really be training experts that see design in a fundamentally different way. I think one of the big insights from the UN Habitat Conference that the Center organized was the distinction between sustainable design and resilient design. And resilient design really being designed for unknown futures, right? Where sustainable design is dealing with knowns, right? We know and we want to conserve. Resilient design has to be more expansive and more adaptive. Right? And so my hope is that we'll be producing the new experts in this field.
But obviously we're not going to be restricted to onslaughts like Sandy, where water is the major issues. There are many other threats that we face and we need to deal with, wind and earthquakes. We've already managed to deal with earthquakes rather well, I think. So it seems to me that whatever worked for earthquake, that approach where we make sure that new buildings all are up to withstanding earthquakes. In the case of Sandy, do we just have new buildings that can resist, or do we retrofit everybody, or do we retrofit only critical pieces like hospitals and schools, or what should our approach be? And then ultimately, who pays for it? These are very interesting, vexing questions, and there are no clear answers. There are many answers, but I think the exploration of the question is probably important in itself.
Well, I think it has to be a really comprehensive view, and it's not going to be just about buildings, I don't think either. And one of the real key benefits of working with Michelle in engineering and Tom coming from a planning and policy background, and with our expertise in architecture, is that we're really seeing it in a transdisciplinary and multidimensional way. And for me, it's not just about resilience in the face of natural disasters or man-made disasters. It's also social resilience, economic resilience, how you actually build, how design can contribute to the construction of healthy, robust, resilient communities.
And that's where I think the students benefit most, an interdisciplinary and integrated approach, so that they're looking at not only the actual physical designs, but also the policy implications and the economic situations and the demand that will be created by the opportunities. I also think there's some great opportunities for new patents and new designs that can come out of this. Last semester's study on nanotechnology created some amazing ideas, and I know the town has received those designs very well.
But it seems to me that it's important to in order to make this multidimensional, in the testing piece, that we involve students from engineering, students from management, and other disciplines that can all bring something to bear. And I think it will give our students the opportunity to realize that in order to make any progress in these kinds of things, it is important to take a broad view rather than a narrow view. And how much can we gain from involving other disciplines to come up with answers that don't become self-referential, but actually matter in the resolution of the problems before us.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that is the goal: is working with other departments at the Institute, at NJIT, to establish collaborative pedagogical models. Because our students are not, engineers and architects are trained differently. And so we're going to have to design collaboration to do this effectively as well.
So I think what will come out of this is ideally a situation where we have students from different disciplines testing policies created by others. So there's a governmental feedback mechanism. At the same time, we would show the solutions, your test solutions, to the communities to get their reaction to say, well, if you promulgate these kinds of regulations, it's going to have a wonderful effect or a terrible effect on our community. So I really see this, as you mentioned before, as a fluid situation where we're trying to create a dialogue, a conversation, ongoing conversation between groups that normally don't talk together. And the student work is an ideal mechanism for enabling that. So I think that would be our job. That's our aim, I believe.
Absolutely.